Cualito Nali, welcome to PNN KEXU, bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Welcome to KEXU Poor People's Revolutionary Radio on 96.1 on the dial in East Oakland, Huchin, and streaming live online at www.poormagazine.org/radio. This is your co-host Muteado Silencio, con voces de migrantes en resistencia, in studio with fellow and formerly Houses Popo and Poverty Scala, mi canala Tiny, and Youth Poverty Scala, Tiburcio Garcia on the ones and twos.
Hey family, this is PNN, not CNN. That's Poor People's Revolutionary Radio, live and direct from the small part of unpimped, unplayed, unbought, unsold Mama Earth that us houseless people call homefulness, a homeless people's solution to homelessness. We're blessed to continue even the liberation of this radio show when Mama Earth and all of our Earth peoples are under attack right now. Just sending prayers to relatives across Mother Earth from Iran to Palestine to Sudan to the Congo to right here, who are constantly being violently swept like we're trash because there's a war on the poor. Anyway, welcome. We appreciate you, family. Thank you for waking up and thank you for being with us. Oh, Mateo.
The cellar lies of sweeps from so-called Berkeley to so-called San Jose. On these podcasts of Poor People's Radio, we speak with houses warriors from Occupy Huchun, aka so-called Berkeley, on the violent sweeps of their houses, disabled and elders residents, then to comrades and poverty scholars from so-called San Jose, another settler town, and their harassment and resistance of their houseless indigenous residents, in a new segment from Addiction Doula, and more. But first, we will hear from a houseless poverty scholar reporter of Ruthless Radio in Yelamo, aka San Francisco, on the violent theft of their belongings and their court case in resistance.
Clean every day, no drugs, no liquor. Never needed the shit. Like I don't really even smoke weed. But they discriminate everybody and they try to throw everybody in the same boat. And then when you're on the streets with a cart, they think you're just a drug addict or a fucking crazy. And so when they came from, I probably had two big ass carts and a bunch of just recycle and shit that people leave on me because that's what they do. Leave you hella blankets, hella clothes, then you have tarps, then you have hella other stuff, and I always pick up trash because it's just I clean up more than anybody cleans up. I bury the dog shit, I bury the banana peels, the orange peels, the leaves, like all this shit that can go under the dirt, I throw it under. So it just renews. And clean the soil, take out the glass, the plastic, all the trash that's by the trees.
You do the real work of recycling.
Yeah, I do all the real shit that they'll never do. And all they do is thieve. They stole my Michael Jordan photos, two Michael Jordan original photos from his rookie year. Stolen, gone, because of these dumbass DPWs. They stole 2 stacks of drawings. No, not 2 stacks, like a whole stack of just notebooks and sketchbooks, like 3-4 backpacks of just drawings for about 5 to 10 years of drawings. My bank card, which they never returned. They took me into custody, so I know they were in my phones looking for anything they can try to incriminate me with. They're just pigs are nosy with a big ass snout, and all they want to do is make you into whatever a criminal or a villain or whatever they want to paint you as, or a drug addict. And that was all of it was far from the truth. Everything they sit up there in court and lie on a Bible that they don't even believe in. Because if they believed in it, they would know that the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So that their wicked system is in the crumble. I already threw the sand and the gears. The whole system's gonna.
And so you got a court case against these
inshallah, God willing, I have a case against, like a real case that'll send these fools to prison. And
yeah, that was Yusef. And shout out to that warrior and to so many of our relatives all across Mother Earth fighting this war on the poor. As some of you know, we do Ruthless Radio. That's ROOF, making sure that we as houseless people speak for ourselves about the violence that is raining down on our head. Don't even think about being houseless in Frisco. Don't even sit down, wipe out. Um, it's a extreme act of constant, endless violence, but we know that's happening everywhere. And today's broadcast of Poor People's Radio, like many of our broadcasts, are dedicated to making sure that we are lifting up what's happening in these settler towns, where, as our First Nations relatives remind us, Mama Earth is not for sale. So we need to decolonize our minds from believing in the lie of rent, believing that these are solutions. And I just want to lift up that right now we just launched very humbly and slowly as poor people, only possible because of our radical redistributors who give us folks who don't got two nickels to put together enough blood-stained dollars so we can lift up and liberate Mother Earth, aka buy, and then we're now spiritually and legally unselling. So we're doing the same thing in Occupy the Alamu, aka Frisco, and we have about 15 relatives right now who have been violently swept, and we're trying to raise the lie of rent. Could you bring that flyer up, Tibu, please? We'll be posting it on IG, and thank you, Tibu, for making it. But I just want to say that we don't have a choice, that the government has nothing for us except more violence. And other guests today will be talking about that as well. So, yeah, we're asking community to step up, to stand up, and to radically redistribute for those of us who have nothing. So, I want to bring in, on that note of sorrow and liberation, let's be real, because, yeah, we build in homefulness. There's 24 of us houseless people who are permanently housed in rent-free, forever housing. That's an unbelievable blessing. So this is the movement, right? But we know these settler suites continue. So we wanted to start shifting to these other settler towns, aka so-called Berkeley, hypocrisy. Supposedly they down Berkeley. Yeah, that ain't happening in that town. So we're going to show a little clip of this corporate media. Then we're going to bring in a fellow poverty scholar warriors on the street every day, talking about what's really happening. Go ahead to play a little of that.
Place to sleep tonight. Crews cleared dozens, swept out and scrambling to find another place to sleep tonight. Crews cleared dozens of people living in a Berkeley encampment today. Many say without warning, but the city insists they warned the camp months ago and that it's a public health threat. As NBC Bay Area's Valina Jones joins us from that camp with more on how a judge halted that sweep. Valina.
A lawyer representing dozens of the unhoused that live in this encampment has spent all day trying to stop the sweep from happening, calling it illegal, happening just days before a scheduled court hearing. Unhoused residents living at a Berkeley encampment at 8th and Harrison claim they were woken up by police yelling and using some kind of smoke at 6 in the morning, forcing them to leave the area. Many noting they got no warning.
I feel like they're forcing me to make my burden the public's burden. Where am I supposed to go hold my burden at now?
Michael is one of around 40 people living in the multi-block encampment. He claims police only allowed him to take some of his things and confiscated his tent without providing a reason.
I have a $400 tent that I'm allowed to take my belongings away, but not my tent. Now, where is that in paper that says I'm not allowed to take half of my stuff?
People die after that.
Ian Cordova Morales is part of Where Do We Go, an advocacy group for the unhoused. He claims one person was arrested. Tonight, the group is trying to connect unhoused residents with resources.
The fact that they're coming out here right before they have a hearing for a preliminary injunction is just very low down. It's very shady.
Yeah.
Because there won't be a
Yeah, we should be back.
Okay, sorry guys. Technical difficulties. Poor people trying to do our best here. It's PNN, not CNN. Anyway, so that's a little corporate to set up. For those of you who don't know what's happening and been happening, this is not our first rodeo in so-called Berkeley. We have a powerful warriors on the street every day herself, dealing with houselessness as well. A powerful journalist, a powerful writer, and a liberator. Welcome back to Poor People's Radio, Jessica.
Hi, Tani. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a blessing, and all the work that you do. So thank you. Can you tell listeners and viewers what's actually happening now? I know there's a court case and all of these things. Unpacking that.
Yeah. So first I can unpack what the lawsuit really is about, just so to have some context. So basically right now we're suing the city of Berkeley for violating the civil rights of disabled unhoused residents, specifically the ADA at this moment, along with other claims. But right now we're directly debating the ADA issue right now. And I think just to put into perspective what's happening, I mean, you guys saw the video clip, but basically, yes, imagine the city coming at 6 in the morning, to wake up person with dementia who can't
Mm,
tell what's real anymore, a
mm,
woman with a traumatic brain injury who will forget instructions the moment that they are given to her, and a veteran with PTSD whose seizures are triggered by the exact sound of dump trucks and the backup beeps that all they bring us sweeps every time, and
mm,
they basically tell them they have 20 minutes to pack everything that they own or lose it forever. And that's basically what happened on that day on June 4 last year. Um, they just came without notice. They had issued notice on February, and because we thought we had a hearing the following week for an injunction, we actually thought that the city would not pull something like this. But it was very traumatic that day. They even used non-lethal weapons on people. A person got shot with rubber bullets. So it's just like it doesn't have to come to that extent in order for them to clear an encampment. Like I think this is the first time I actually saw like policemen draw weapons.
mm.
And it was really scary the way that it happened. But basically the city continues to plan to do this eviction again. I mean, this is why we're basically having a big hearing again on Friday, where the judge is finally going to decide whether the city has been violating the ADA. So it's going to be a big hearing in San Francisco under Judge Chen. But basically, we're asking them for a reasonable accommodation to all the encampment policies that make up a sweep, because people do have the right to ask for a reasonable accommodation so that they don't incur an injury, which is basically what the city's actions end up resulting in, and injuries, especially to, people who are disabled. Um, so basically, right now, the city thinks that we don't have the right to ask for an accommodation, in terms that they think that it will fundamentally alter their programs if they made even a small modification to it. Yeah, so the way basically that they're saying is like, they're hiding behind their own ordinances and laws, and they're saying we can't help you because our rules won't allow us to do that, and making one exception for one person is an undue burden to the city's resources.
Wow.
uh, yes, and that's their argument right now. But the whole point of the ADA is to actually provide a small change to prevent the big harm from happening.
That
uh,
point. Can
yes.
I can I insert just real quickly for listeners and viewers who don't know, the ADA stands for basically the accommodations for disabled folks. That is really what it is, and it's a federal government program that's already been ruled into law a long time ago. So what is it? Americans with Disabilities Act, right? That's what it is. It's a standard enforceable protection for relative, because let's not get it twisted, family. It isn't teenagers out there. Your grandma, your auntie, your grandpa, your uncle. These are elders, many of whom are gravely disabled. Go ahead, Jessica, and just tell us where we're at now.
Yeah, I mean, right now, so basically on Friday, it's going to be decided whether the city has to follow federal law, in this case, the ADA, and before displacing medically fragile people from their homes, because that is what they're doing. And basically, the Berkeley Homeless Union is arguing it does. They do have to provide a modification to these programs and policies. And the city says it doesn't have to. So that's our big dispute that's going to be settled on Friday.
Wow.
And the thing is, like, yeah, it's really big stakes because if the judge decides that the city does not have to provide a reasonable accommodation to this kind of activity, then that will have an impact on other people as well, right? Because then that means that city governments don't owe them anything when they do
Wow.
these kind of actions. And I just
Wow.
really hope that the judge will not rule in that way.
Wow.
But
Who
yeah, that's where we're at right now.
who is the? Do we have any sense? Because I know also your fellow jailhouse lawyer outside of jail and doing the legal advocacy. And shout out to Robbie as well, Robbie Powelson, and all the warriors. But do you have a sense of this judge that you're getting in front of? Do we have any idea of that at all?
Yeah, I mean, so basically we had this judge, because we also have another case besides the union case. There's another case that started in 2023. So there has been several lawsuits to save Aiden Harrison streets since 2021. Uh,
Yeah.
yes, so this is like the fourth one. But basically we had Judge Chen for the last case since 2023, and he's been reasonable. I think he's very fair, and as long as the evidence is there, like he's gonna make a fair judgment. But I mean, that's what we're really concerned about because, like, the city right now, even though the sweep encompasses different policies, kind of like the sidewalk ordinance and all these other codes that they put in their public notices, the city's trying to say that the definition of the program is just to remove the people and to remove the trash. That's the
Wow.
program at question. And they literally said it that way. I mean, they're
Wow.
not hiding it, that their point is to remove the people.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
what?
yeah.
Well, also just again to give listeners and viewers a sense of where we're talking about, because if you don't know, so-called progressive hip hop crazy Berkeley, this is an area that is mostly light industrial. There isn't even a lot of residential down there. So we're talking about removing people from a street that really just has big buildings, warehouses on it. Not even all of them are filled. Um, what is this, like tech people hate? I mean, who are these people who are relentlessly demanding that human beings are swept like we're trash? Do you have any sense of that?
Sorry, what was the question again?
So, in other words, like the actual neighborhood, the Vadio of 8th and Harrison, that continues to just constantly disrupt and destroy people's homes, our outside homes. Who's pushing that? Is that ball of tricksters? Is that neighborhood? Do you have a sense of that, Jessica?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a bit complicated, but basically, is the our own district councilwoman who's pushing for the closure of this encampment, and she drafted this specific encampment policy in 2024 to basically close down this encampment and Second Street. So District One Councilwoman is Rashika Zerwani. She authored this law, and then other council members co-sponsored it as well, and then it got voted into, now actual policy. So
Wow.
yeah, it makes it difficult because, like, now this policy also says that if the encampment meets the criteria, so there are like six exceptions, with six things that it will mean that the encampment has to be closed, and they don't have to even offer any housing.
Wow.
Yes, and the thing is, like, they had to make this policy because of grants pass, right? Because a lot of cities didn't want to do the right thing, and they just wanted to use this as a way to now further criminalize and push people out. I
Yeah.
think, and this is why, like, we saw a lot of cities actually after grants pass happened start drafting their own ordinances to kind of, target people.
Yeah.
But yeah, Berkeley was no exception. Even though they have a housing first policy, they said,
Yeah.
if you meet any of these 6 criteria, these people have to go without offering any alternatives, and that's where we're at right now. Yeah.
Wow. Can you tell listeners and viewers as we close out, what are action steps? What are you suggesting that folks do to support our relatives?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really just helps just to come by to the camp if people have, the ability to. I think people are just going through a hard time and thinking about what next steps to take. I mean, we have had an injunction in place now for a year. So this lawsuit started last year. And I think it's kind of getting to the point where, like, we don't know if we're going to get another extension. So I think this is like a very difficult time for people to kind of face that, this might be the end of this encampment. And now they're making it, and they're permanently closing the encampment. They're making it a no lodging zone. So even though people were like allowed to come back before when there were sweeps happening here, now they're like, if you come back to this area, we're gonna cite and arrest you. So now there is no coming back here anymore once they make us leave.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is happening throughout Berkeley. Like every other, like Second Street also has those no lodging signs, and now nobody's allowed to re-encamp that area anymore. Uh, yeah, so like this policy is really just hardscaping and zoning people out of the city because now
Right.
they're not allowed to return to their safe place that they knew.
Sweeping us to nowhere. And
Yeah.
same with Frisco, same with Uchun, Oakland. So I just want to say, if you could tell listeners, viewers, I know about her Berkeley Homeless Union, how to follow, how to support. Also, the court case is going to be heard this Friday. Where is that? Is there a call out to show up or at all or no?
Yeah, no, definitely. If people want to show up, I think it's a very important issue. And like, I think the judge needs to know that, hey, there's big stakes and a lot of people have interest in this, because it is, like 40% of the unhoused population in Berkeley has a disability. So this, like whatever ruling this happens is going to impact, a big portion of the people. But yeah, the hearing is basically gonna be on Friday. He's on the 17th floor in San Francisco, the federal building. Yeah, the courthouse there. And I think the hearing is, let me check really quick. The hearing is at 10 a.m.
Okay. Okay. You gave us what we need to do. Show up if you can, relatives. Uh, Also, Homefulness Hotel Fund and all of the ways that our communities support each other and need to be supported. Support Berkeley Homeless Union. How can people support you all?
Yeah, you guys can find us on Instagram, and I think we're gonna be doing direct action pretty soon if we don't get a court hearing. So yeah, just stay tuned to our social media. We might make a call out for bodies on the ground.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
much love, Jessica. We appreciate you, and we're right there with you always. Oh, Mateo. Yeah, you're listening and watching PNN, not CNN, people. That's Poor People's Revolutionary Radio. So we leave the so-called progressive town of so-called Berkeley, aka occupied Uchun, and we move to so-called San Jose. Interestingly enough, San Jose, named after one of the missionaries, right, who stole that Muwekma Ohlone land. We're going to show a brief video and then bring in some warriors from that territory. You can show that.
Meantime, in the South Bay, the city of San Jose has started the process of clearing Coyote Meadows. That's a city-owned property right near Story and Center Roads, once known as the Jungle. So on Wednesday, city crews started 50 days of outreach to about 100 people currently living at the site. Workers are going tent to tent, and they're offering temporary housing options and services. The city says the goal is to help people move indoors while restoring the area along Coyote Creek and cutting down on pollution in local waterways. An encampment is set to be cleared starting April 15th, with cleanup expected to last about 30 to 60 days.
So there's a whole bunch of corporate lies in that report. First of which is that this implication that we as house people make a mess. First of all, the city intentionally never provides trash pickup, never provides water, never provides anything. And then second of all, this constant criminalizing and removing and sweeping and evicting. So how can people create space? So we have the blessing of having a warrior from that territory coming in who supports with mutual aid and other things. Welcome to Poor People's Radio, Robert.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
For
Can you hear me all
sure.
right?
Yeah, we can. You're
Wonderful.
great. You're
Thank
great.
you.
Um, so can you kind of lay out, because I know we just looked at that one location. There's other locations. First of all, who are the relatives who are at the so-called jungle, which is a racist, classist term, and really have problems calling, calling our communities that. That's what was done by politricksters. But anyway, can you tell us, Robert, what's going on?
Yeah, they are going to be going through and they're going to be sweeping the jungle here really soon, and it's been happening all over town. Honestly, anywhere that anybody has found any kind of sort of pocket of safety, they come through and just shove people out with nowhere to go. They're saying that they're offering housing, but they're not offering housing to everybody. They're only offering housing to the few people where they're focusing on their major sweeps. Like I personally was from Columbus Park, so when they came through and they swept out Columbus Park, they offered everybody their housing, and most people did take it. Um, but they also sort of lied to us about what it was we were going into. So they're using lies and manipulation tactics to get people to sign up for housing just so they can shuffle us off and put us away, almost warehouse us, if you will.
That part. I mean, I think that's something that very important to talk about. Two things. So they mentioned in the corporate video about temporary housing. I think it's really important to note that a lot of these so-called solutions that these politricksters come up with are not long-term housing. They're somewhere, as you said, just to get them out of the way so that they can, do their sweeps, right? The second thing is that these solutions are warehouses. They're low key jails. They're rarely things that we, as poor and houseless people, would create for ourselves. If you could talk a little bit about some of the what they've given you guys as solutions.
Well, they've given us basically adult daycares. They've put us into right, well, there's hotel facilities and there's also tiny homes. So those are the two options that you have. Besides they call it a navigation hub, which is really we call it the tent city. It's a tiny section of tents where you go before you get shoved into one of your adult daycares. They basically they monitor everything you do. They have all kinds of rules and regulations on what you can and can't do, when you can and can't leave. They won't let anybody come visit you. So they've completely isolated you from anybody on the outside world. You can only have interactions with the people who live inside of your facility. You can leave, uh, but they record every time you go out, every time you come in. Basically, they're just trying to find a way to keep us all quiet and complacent until they're done with us, or they're done with the major events in the area, and they can just wash their hands of us once again to send us back out to the streets.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. I thank you because they did the same template with so-called Oakland. When they cleared one of the largest communities, aka Wood Street,
Yeah.
and right, and then making these tiny home that were jails. I mean that. Yeah, I love the adult daycare metaphor. Shout out to our relatives in Tavongar, LA, and the street. Solidarity, same thing there. I think they're all playing by the same playbook that, you know, how little can they give us? How much can they criminalize us? And
Yes.
how much, right? And how much will we take? Um, and then at the end of it all, which is even more disgusting, they close these places. So I was like, wow, though. And like
Yeah.
you said, they just throw us back out.
They work so hard on criminalizing us, dehumanizing us, and vilifying us that even the general public is sort of behind it because they believe the things that these people, these news outlets, these mayors, these politicians in charge, they believe what they're saying about us because we don't have any actual representation as like we should. It's very sad.
Exactly. Can you tell us a little bit about the residents of that you told me about who are actually um, in those two communities? You told me a couple of them, the jungle and then
The
another one.
jungle and Columbus Park. Yep. So Columbus Park was a bit more of a mix of people, but the jungle itself, it's a lot of there's a lot of queer folks there. There's a lot of undocumented folks there. There's a lot of elderly there. So it's kind of again a little bit of a mix of just about everybody because at this point in time here in the city here in San Jose, the jungle is one of the few places that they haven't been going through and sweeping 24/7 like every time you turn around. So people have ran there sort of as a respite of safety, where anywhere else in the town we're being hunted. It's terrible. They have this team. It's a uh, neighborhood quality of life team. But we call them NyQuil. But they basically their whole job is just to hunt us.
Wow. That's a terrifying analogy, but it's so on point.
It is terrifying. It's
Yeah,
very terrifying out here. Being one of the people, I'm scared every day, and I actually have temporary housing right now. I'm terrified to go outside and into public because I don't know if they're going to just automatically assume something by the way that I look, or just because of who I'm talking to when I go out and do my outreach. It's a very scary thing.
right. What's the climate of the politricksters down there? Is it totally the same, like as you heard in from Berkeley? Is that which?
Absolutely. There are a couple of city council members who are very supportive and they do try to help out, but it seems like the majority of any of the people who are in charge of anything down here, they are all following the same guidelines of warehouse and shove aside until we can get done with all of our events, and then after that it's over. It seems like the programs are all going to run out of money around here right around the same time, which is just conveniently after these last few major events that are coming to the city.
And what are the events? What? Because it sounds like it's definitely a pre-event sweep.
Right.
What are the events?
So they started with the Super Bowl, and so they came through with the Super Bowl. I know that I believe FIFA is supposed to be coming to town. Soccer.
Oh, what?
I believe I'm not if I'm not mistaken. I know that's what
Yes.
everybody's been
Yes.
saying. So
Oh
and
my
there's
God!
another. I think there's one more event after that. I don't know exactly which one it is, but the event it should be somewhere before the middle of July. So
Wow. I also just want to lift up and shout out that these sweeps kill,
they do.
right? And
They
that
do.
you have been lifting up the relatives who we've lost from this violence. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I've been we did a memorial for all the lives we lost this last year, and
Mhm.
every year we do a memorial with headstones and everything, so we can honor the people who have unfortunately passed because of either exposure, violence, self harm. It's really it's quite terrible.
Yeah. I just to tease that out for listeners and viewers, and again shout out our relatives in Tabongar and right here in Uchun. Shout out to JT. Basically died after the East 12 sweep because they took everything from him, and he was an elder
Oh man.
holding on. Right. Shout out to Buddha. Died after the sweep because he couldn't get warm. Because we know outside, if you lose your blankets and you lose your enclosures and you lose your community, you have nothing to protect
No,
you, right?
at all.
Right? And so, yeah, we actually die. Shout out to Angeline Green Eyes Swan from Tabangar, LA at Etna Street, to Mike Flo, who once they put inside, because that's another killer, I just want to name it. They put him inside what our relative Robert called the adult daycare or the
Mhm.
Lokia jails. You end up isolated with no
Completely.
community.
They do that strategically, I believe, because they
Mhm.
want to keep us complacent. They want to
Right.
keep us, controllable in a way. So in order to do that, they keep us separated so that we can't band together and we can't use
Mhm.
our voice as one.
Ashe. That's so real. Thank you so much, Robert. Do you
Yes.
want to shout out one of the communities that you work with or how
Yeah,
listeners can support?
Yeah, I represent Grace, and I work with a woman named Sean Cartwright, who also represents an organization called Urge. We just, we thank everybody for all the support we've gotten so far, and I'm really grateful for everybody's help, because everybody who's helped me, I've been able to turn around and take the things that I've been given and give them out in my community, and I've been able to help people and save lives, and so thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Ashe,
Thank you.
Ashe, Robert, too, and for coming on the show. You're always welcome.
Thanks
We
for
want to
having me.
keep
Thank you.
hearing. Yes. Thank you, relative. And we will come right back. This is Poor News Network, PNN, not CNN. Yeah, you listening and watching Poor People's Revolutionary Radio. As we transition from this violence, we wanted to bring us into some healing. As we heard on Women's History Month show last week, our beautiful sister Ifalayo, who coming out of Wood Street and homelessness for 10 years, is working to bring back the multiple cultures that this system takes from all of us as part of colonization, right? And she's doing the beautiful work with her segment called The Addiction Doula. We're going to play a little bit of that to bring us into some healing. Stay tuned. Here it comes.
What? Probably skip it a little bit.
Myself as Ianifa on the Poor News Network.
Okay. Technical difficulties.
This is KEXU 96.1 FM on the Poor News Network. It is with great humility and honor that I reintroduce myself as Ianifa Ifalayo, a name that means Ifa brings joy. This name carries both a blessing and a commitment to live in alignment with wisdom, truth, and service. This is your addiction doula on the Holistic Detox and Recovery segment, connecting you to traditional ways to be reborn and liberated from addiction and trauma. Today I'll be sharing how meditation can ground you in your daily recovery journey. Aburo Abuyeo, I want to talk about a key routine I do every day, which can be powerful in the journey of recovery from addiction. The practice of morning meditation and how it connects to traditional African spirituality, especially the Yoruba tradition known as Isheshe. When people are recovering from addiction, one of the biggest challenges is learning how to slow down the mind. Cravings, stress, anxiety, and old habits can feel overwhelming. But meditation in the morning helps create a moment of stillness before the world begins moving fast around us. Just a few minutes of breathing, sitting quietly, and focusing the mind can help regulate emotions, lower stress, and strengthen the ability to pause before reacting. That pause can make the difference between relapse and making a healthy choice. But this idea of starting the day in reflection is not new. In fact, it's deeply rooted in indigenous tradition. In the Yoruba spiritual tradition of Isheshe, mornings are considered a sacred time to align oneself with destiny, character, and spiritual guidance. Many practitioners begin the day in quiet reflection, prayer, or divination to connect with their Ori, the inner consciousness or spiritual head that guides a person's path in life. The concept of Ori teaches that wisdom and direction already live within us. Meditation helps us listen to that inner voice instead of the noise of addiction, trauma, or outside pleasure. For someone in recovery, this practice becomes a way of reconnect with themselves spiritually. Instead of reaching for substances to cope with pain, they learn to sit with their breath, their thoughts, and their spirit. In the Isheshe worldview, healing is not just physical, it's spiritual, emotional, and communal. When someone sits in meditation in the morning, they are not just calming their mind. They are strengthening their Ori, grounding their character, and aligning with the higher purpose that their life carries. Recovery then becomes more than just staying sober. It becomes a journey of remembering who you truly are.
Oh, Mateo.
Mateo.
So much power from sis.
Yes,
And of course, she just came back from the homeland, which was only possible, let's be real, as a poor woman as a formerly houseless woman because of our Bank of Community Reparations, her comrades and supporters from Wood Street Commons, and her comrades and community and family. So again, we see it as a very important when we're coming out of these positions of trauma to recognize that it isn't just a roof we need. It's healing, it's community, and it's support. And that's the very thing that we promote. And I just want to bring up the Healing Hub, which is about to kick off this Friday, because it's a embodiment of that. If you can bring up the flyer, actually, I may not have sent you that one. I did,
Yeah.
but you might have it on that computer. But
Let's see.
it's this Friday, March 20th at 10 a.m. right here, the sacred land us sacred people call Homefulness.
There it is.
8032 Black Arthur, aka MacArthur, and Deep East Uchun. We start out with breakfast and a talk circle. It's a humble healing. It's not everything. But we also are looking currently for a chiropractor in case any practitioners are hearing my voice. And as well, currently, a medical doctor as well with the paper, just because we really see this as a vision of what Mama D and me dreamed, which is the Poor People's Clinic. It's not related to bloodstained dollars. It's absolutely about us supporting each other because we got. The other thing I just want to bring up in that same vision is the Lie of Rent Fund. If you could bring that up, Tibu. As you heard today, so many of our relatives are being violently swept. It sweeps and homelessness kills, but most importantly, so does criminalization. And that's what they're doing to our family. We're trying to currently raise rent for 4 different relatives in occupied Yalamu. So if you're able to support it all, we also actively have the Homefulness Hotel Fund, which right now currently has 5 different people, again, staying in motels. The city isn't supporting that. This is not a voucher. This is not any program created by the government, because guess what? They don't have any. They're closing shelters now. They've closed all of the frontline places in occupied Uchun, Oakland. And they're still sweeping us, notwithstanding what the mayor said, by the way. The sweeps continue. Anyway, so if you're able to kick down to the Lie of Rent Fund, we would appreciate it. Without radical redistribution, there would be no homefulness. There would be no Homefulness Hotel Fund. And so our newest Lie of Rent Fund, if anybody can support, we appreciate you. We love you all so much.
So that's all for this edition of Poor People's Radio. To get a complete podcast, you can go to Poor Magazine on SoundCloud or poormagazine.org or whatever you get your podcast from. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, at Poor Magazine or at Poverty Scholar or on Poor News Network on YouTube. All power to the people.
Power! Thank you so much, family. We only exist because of you. Oh, Omate.